I want you to stop and look at the date on your screen. You trust it. You believe, without question, that we are living in the 21st century. But what if I told you that this number is a lie? What if I told you that a massive chunk of human history, specifically the 300 years between 614 AD and 911 AD, never actually happened? What if Charlemagne was not a real person? What if the Dark Ages were dark because they didn't exist? This is the phantom time hypothesis. While it sounds like the plot of a science fiction novel, it is based on a terrifying mathematical discrepancy found in the Gregorian calendar. To understand this, we have to go back to the year 1582. This was the year Pope Gregory XIII introduced the Gregorian calendar, which we still use today. Before this, the world used the Julian calendar. The problem was that it was slightly too long, about 11 minutes too long per year. Over centuries, these extra minutes added up. By 1582, the Pope realized Easter was falling on the wrong day. To fix this, he ordered that 10 days be dropped. Thursday, October 4th, was followed immediately by Friday, October 15th. But here is where historian Heribert Illig found the glitch. The Julian calendar drifts by 1 day every 128 years. From Caesar to Gregory, roughly 1,600 years passed. The drift should have been 13 days, but Pope Gregory only dropped 10 days. Why? Where did the other 3 days go? Or more importantly, where did the missing 3 centuries go? Illig argues the time passed was shorter than we think. He calculated the calendar must have started roughly 300 years later. This implies that 297 years of history were inserted into our timeline artificially. Someone added extra years to the count. This means that right now, biologically and astronomically, it is not the 21st century. We are actually living in the early 18th century. The year is roughly 1729. But who would do this? Illig points the finger at a conspiracy between 3 powerful men: the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII. The motive was vanity and religion. Otto III was obsessed with the millennium. He didn't want to rule in the boring year 700. He wanted to be the emperor of the apocalypse in the year 1000. So, they conspired to rewrite history. They ordered scribes and monks to cook the books. They retroactively altered dates and forged deeds to force the date to align with the year 1000 AD. But simply changing the number wasn't enough. You have to fill that empty space. So, they invented the early Middle Ages. They invented wars that never were fought and kings who never lived. We call it the Dark Ages because there is no evidence. But Illig says it is dark because it is empty. It is a ghost period, a fiction written to satisfy the ego of an emperor. The most compelling evidence for the phantom time hypothesis is not just the calendar math. It is the physical evidence, or rather, the lack of it. When archaeologists dig into the ground in Europe, they look for layers of history. You find a layer for the Roman Empire, you find a layer for the High Middle Ages. But for the period of 614 to 911 AD, the layer is often missing or incredibly thin. This is called a sterile layer. In many sites across Germany and France, Roman ruins are found directly beneath buildings from the 10th century. It looks as if the Roman Empire fell, and then the High Middle Ages began immediately. There is no transitional period. Where are the 3 centuries of debris? Where are the coins? Where are the pottery shards? Archaeologists often explain this away by saying people were poor and built with wood that rotted. But Illig argues this is a convenient excuse for a time period that never existed. Then there is the issue of architecture. Look at the famous Palatine Chapel in Aachen, Germany. It is said to have been built by Charlemagne around the year 800 AD. It is a masterpiece of design, featuring complex arches and domes. But if you look closely, the style is pure Roman. It looks exactly like buildings constructed in Constantinople or Rome, in the year 200 AD. Historians call this the Carolingian Renaissance, a revival of Roman style. But Illig asks a harder question. How did they remember? If there was truly a 600-year gap between the fall of Rome and the time of Charlemagne, a gap filled with chaos, illiteracy, and the collapse of civilization, how did the architects retain the complex mathematical knowledge required to build those arches? Engineering knowledge usually degrades over time if it isn't used. Illig argues that the chapel looks Roman because it is Roman. Or rather, it was built immediately after the Roman period ended. The timeline is continuous. And finally, we must address the Phantom King himself, Charlemagne. Charlemagne is the most famous figure of the Middle Ages. He is the father of Europe. He conquered France, Germany, and Italy. But Illig argues that Charlemagne is too good to be true. He is a superhero, not a human. His armies moved distances that would be physically impossible given the roads of the time. Illig suggests that Charlemagne is a composite character. The monks who forged the history took the deeds of several different local warlords and stitched them together into one legendary figure. Now you must ask, is this real? The mainstream scientific community says no. They point to astronomy. We have records of solar eclipses and comets from ancient China and the Islamic world that match our current timeline perfectly. If Europe faked 300 years, they would be out of sync with the rest of the planet. Unless the conspiracy was global, or unless the Chinese historians made similar errors. It is a theory that hangs on the edge of madness, but it taps into a deep primal suspicion we all have. We rely on authority to tell us what year it is. History is a story told by the winners. So, as you go about your day in the 21st century, take a moment to wonder, are we really the advanced future civilization we think we are? Or are we just 18th century peasants with smartphones, living in a timeline that was broken by a vanity project 1,000 years ago?